tell you the truth. The story ends right there.
I had several coworkers ask me why I turned that murder loose.
The people have spoken, and they expect you to carry out your offer.
You can't talk about Old Town without
KATU presents Town Hall. Tonight, do you approve of what kids are wearing? Maybe students should all have uniforms. Would a strict dress code solve problems at school, or does it violate student freedom? That's tonight's Town Hall. And now, here's your host, Jeff Gianola.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, and welcome to Town Hall. What will your kids wear to school tomorrow morning? Do you approve of what kids are wearing to school these days? If you haven't been inside a classroom lately, you might be surprised. Are your kids wearing something like this? These are our models on Town Hall. I want to introduce to you Ryan and Morgan. And Ryan, you normally, would you wear something like this to school?
Not exactly like
But are kids wearing something like this to school these days? Let me take the look a little bit and look around. We've got the boxers. What is this, the baggy look?
Yeah, I'd say sagging.
The sagging look. Now, how many boys your age are wearing this kind of stuff to high school?
A lot.
A lot of boys?
Yeah,
the baggy
at
look?
least.
Okay, take the jacket off there. I used to wear a T-shirt to high school, but you have some messages on here. Valley of the Dolls. Is this sort of a risque message for high school?
Yeah, it's got the pills on the front. And
Would you be told to go home if you're wearing something like that?
could be. Yeah,
Could be. You're on the edge.
It's on the yeah.
You're on the edge.
Yeah.
Okay. I know you're on the edge.
Yeah.
Right here, wearing. Morgan, would you be sent home if you wore something like this?
I would think so.
You would think so,
Yeah.
but are you close to what some kids are wearing?
Pretty close.
I guess the issue here, everybody, isn't what would happen or what school wouldn't allow, but should you be allowed to wear that? And I want to go to some other young people. Go ahead and sit down. Thanks for being our models. I want to go to some other young people in our town hall audience. Should they be allowed to wear that? Should they be allowed?
Definitely. It's self-expression.
They should be allowed. How do you feel?
I don't agree totally. I think to an extent that you should be able to wear that, but maybe not. I wouldn't go with maybe the
Morgan
hose.
look.
Yeah, the Morgan look.
How do you feel about it?
I feel that they should be able to wear what they want as long as it's not hindering other students' education.
Okay, that's what our young people think. I want to hear from maybe educators, raise your hand, or people who deal, parents. What do you think? Right there, what do you think?
Well, I think that the uniforms are doing very well in our daughter's case.
Uniform, is this your daughter, right?
This is our daughter, is Elizabeth.
Okay.
And she's at St. Mary of the Valley.
And she's not a high schooler.
No, she's not a high schooler. She's in her 5th year at St. Mary's.
Let me get back to this issue here. Should kids be allowed to wear something like this? Should there be restrictions?
I think so. I think it's taught Elizabeth to look beyond the individual's dress into what's inside the person instead. And you're not so hung up on what people are wearing, and you get to know the person better. And she's met a lot of different people that may not have happened that way.
Let's hear from a school administrator in the back there. Your name?
Paul Harris from Evergreen School District.
What do you think, Paul?
I think the problem we're having in our district is we have rules, and we have the difficulty comes into enforcing and being objective and trying to decide what's acceptable and what's not. It's an individualistic thing, and it becomes very difficult.
Okay, you're saying the rules are there. Maybe they should be enforced. At times.
Yeah, they weren't being enforced, and now we're taking a look at enforcing the rules more. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Okay, there's a lot of concern over this. A growing number of parents and school administrators say it's time to require students to actually wear uniforms or enforce the dress codes, like Paul said. Well, just north in Seattle, there's a fight over how to control kids' passion for fashion.
For most parents, this is a familiar sight. Walking in the mall, kids in tow, doing back-to-school shopping. But some Seattle parents may not have to do as much of this next year. The school board passed a measure encouraging schools to adopt and enforce stricter dress codes.
But it simply is a message being sent from this board to the district staff, employees, and parents that we think this is a good idea.
The school board will let individual schools decide what kind of dress code is appropriate for their students. The codes are expected to be wide and varied, anywhere from uniforms to no code at all. At least one school official thinks stricter codes are a good idea.
I would like to think that it reduced the pressure of some kids as they walk to school about whether I have on the right colors or am I going to get shot.
Some students agree.
Sometimes, like, a lot of people just, like, jump you, you know, for what the color you wear, you know, so it might make a difference in violence. You know.
Others say dress codes won't make any difference.
No, if they don't like each other, just get in a fight anyway. What does it matter what clothes they're wearing?
Parents are divided too. This man has a daughter who goes to a school with uniforms.
Anyway, and it eliminates a lot of peer pressure and problems that I think kids have in public schools.
I don't think that's going to help it at all. Usually the people that cause the trouble is not in the school anyway. They come up to the school.
This isn't the end of this debate. Each school will give parents and teachers and students the opportunity to make the final decision on how to do it, when to do it, or even whether to do it.
That's what they're doing in Seattle. Maybe we'll see some schools there with actual uniforms or stricter dress codes. It's already happened to the north of us. How do you feel about that?
The problem isn't what you're wearing, it's the person. You got to start with the person, not the clothes.
It's true, you do. You can't just fix what's on the outside. You have to fix what's on the inside.
Let's get a comment back here.
I think you have to look at what's, like Molly said, on what's on the inside of people and not, you know, be concerned with what they're wearing and just look at them as a person.
I want everybody to pay attention. Don, did you hear what they were saying?
Yes, I did.
Okay, I want to introduce you to Don Nielsen. He's a member of the Seattle School Board, and it was Don who pushed the stricter dress code regulations through the school board. Why, Don?
Well, I think the reason is one of discipline. The reason is one of behavior. The reason is one of respect. I think one of the roles of schools is to ensure that we develop children so that they can live in a civilized society, and in a civilized society there are rules. And in fact, today you can't even work at McDonald's without adhering to a very strict uniform and dress code. And I think it's time for us to teach the kids what it's going to be like when they get out.
Okay, you mentioned the word discipline. Stay with us, Don. I want to go to someone in our town hall audience. Introduce yourself.
My name is Gary Smith. I've been on the Beaverton School Board for a little over 9 years, and I direct a drug prevention and treatment referral program called the Oregon Partnership. I proposed school uniforms quite a number of years ago after hearing what Detroit and Philadelphia schools were doing, because they were experiencing gang problems, they were experiencing violence, kids against kids, kids against teachers. And people, when I proposed it in Beaverton, came down on me like a ton of bricks. I got death threats from kids, unfortunately some of whom who misspelled the death threat letters, which gave me ample opportunity as a school board member to chide my teachers, unfortunately. And people said, this is Beaverton. We're not Detroit, not Philadelphia. That was a few years ago. Now we have drive-by shootings, we have drug use in the schools, we have violence, kids and against teachers. Teachers are afraid to teach. I think it's a time this idea has come.
I think that uniforms set a wonderful academic atmosphere for the schools.
And you should know, shouldn't you?
Well, yeah, I think so.
Tell the folks what you do.
I'm principal at St. Stephen's Catholic School, and our students wear uniforms. And I think, much as this other gentleman has said, it does, there is a certain behavior that goes along with that. And I notice on days when we have sometimes a special free dress day for something, and the academic atmosphere is not the same. The playground atmosphere is not the same.
Our hot seat guest right here, your name?
Richard Burke.
Richard, how do you feel about this?
Well, I think that uniforms are wrong in the public schools. Now, many of the people over here are in private schools, places where they choose to be. And so if they choose to adhere to a set of rules that the school has, we have no problem with that. But in public schools, you have to go. The superintendent from Seattle talked about, well, McDonald's, you have a uniform. At this place, you have a uniform. But you're not forced by law to work at McDonald's. And if you're going to be forced to be there, and you've got cops in the halls, and you've got cameras in the hallways, you know, then I think that putting people in uniforms, what's next? Numbers on the uniforms?
Let's get back to the issue of discipline. Will uniforms or a stricter dress code in school bring with it a sense of discipline?
I don't think so. I think a lot of it has to do, if a death threat is being misspelled, maybe you should talk about the education itself. It's not what you're wearing. We need to start from the very beginning and the problem itself, which is that we shouldn't stereotype, that we should look at people at who they are, and just because they're wearing something isn't going to make their spelling better, or, you know, there's not going to avoid that issue. I came from California when a kid died for wearing blue. That wasn't going to be because of the blue, it's because the ignorance, and that starts at the very beginning. We need to start with the problem.
You mentioned the gang problem, the wearing of different colors and being associated with gangs. Someone that knows all about that, C.W. Jensen from Portland Police Bureau. Would uniforms maybe instill a sense of discipline, a sense of orderliness maybe?
Well, first of all, I think they look great. They really do. I guess I'm prejudiced, but I think they look good. But the bottom line is, if we have to rely on clothing to instill discipline in our kids, maybe we've already lost the battle. I mean, we have prisoners wear uniforms, we still have riots and problems there, so maybe we have to look at why the discipline problems are occurring and address those and not what children are wearing.
Let's hear from some of the parents whose children do wear uniforms to school. In the back there, your name, please?
Beth Self. And my daughter, Kimmy, goes to St. Mary of the Valley, and I have a son and another daughter there. And we very much are pro-uniform because of the fact that it gives them a sense of identity within the school and a sense of order in the classroom. You can walk into the classroom and it reinforces the discipline that the teachers are instilling in the children. They take pride, they know what they're going to wear the next morning, and I like that.
Let's hear from some more parents there. Anyone, raise your hand. Go ahead with students right there. Over on the side right there, let's get a microphone over there. What do you think about the discipline issue? Uniforms instill discipline?
I believe so, because I think if you have a distraction in the room, it would be very difficult to discipline yourself to your assignment and your task that you're working on if you have somebody over in a halter top and a bikini. The discipline issue is a factor in learning and not only in the way that you act.
I have two comments.
Well, do you disagree with someone over there?
Yeah, because, I mean, how can you have identity if you're wearing the same thing everyone else is? And plus, when you think of public school, you're the public. You can wear what you want in public. And I think of private school, you choose to be there, so you have to choose to wear that uniform or whatever they have.
What about this issue of discipline?
It's a catch-22, I think, actually, because, I mean, if you are wearing what everyone else is, it can be easier to be disciplined. Like she said, they're, I guess, out of control when they get to wear whatever they want.
Okay, I have a question for her too. She said they have pride for themselves. Okay, so are you saying that kids that don't go to a school that wears uniforms don't have pride about themselves either?
Let's get her to answer that. What are you saying?
No, I didn't say
no,
that.
No, she did, in the blue.
Oh, in the blue.
Kimmy mentioned one day when she woke up, you want to say how you feel?
When I wake up in the morning, I feel like I put on my uniform and I feel like I'm really proud of myself and I feel great and I feel like I'm a St. Mary girl and I want to be that way.
Okay, when I wake up in the morning, I feel pride in myself that I am a Grant High School general person, and you know, so.
You don't have problem that she's wearing a uniform. You're just saying the uniform isn't everything, I guess. The uniform isn't the whole person. I can understand that, I guess.
I don't think that uniform for public schools, I don't think that it's necessary.
Well, you know, we're talking about clothes. I have a shirt right here. Could you hold my microphone just for a second? Right there. I have a shirt right here. Now, this is, you know, we saw the slogan here that Ryan was wearing, Valley of the Doll. We don't want to get a real close-up of that, I don't think. But here's a shirt, and we'll take a close-up of it. Of course, our old friends Beavis and Butthead here, and I'm not going to repeat what they're saying, but I don't know if that's which of the B brothers that is making the comment, but suppose someone wore this to high school, would that be appropriate? Who wants to respond to that? Would that be appropriate? You sir, right there.
I'm Paul O'Malley from Central Catholic High School. There will be those who will say, no, that's inappropriate. Personally, I would say I don't agree with Beavis and Butthead. I don't allow my children to watch it. I don't agree with it. But, we allow students within certain parameters. We have to allow students to express themselves.
But what if this offends other students, let's say?
I think it would be important for us to instill in those other students to talk to the wearer. Say, look, I have an issue with that. Create a dialogue between the students as opposed to me up here telling you, no, that's not appropriate or that's not okay to do.
Let's switch back to Seattle. Don Nielsen. Don, what do you think? I was holding up the old Beavis and Butthead shirt here. Would this be appropriate? Is this what you're talking about, your stricter dress codes in Seattle?
Well, in a way, I would say that dress begets behavior, and you just have to, all the data tells you that. So if that particular T-shirt is going to be worn by an individual, I have a hunch that individual will have a very undisciplined type of behavior. It obviously is going to be that kind of a person.
Okay, let's get a comment back here.
No, what clothing I wear expresses my personality, but something I wear is not something I'm going to do. It's just, I'll wake up in the morning and I'll look in my closet and I'll say, what am I feeling like today? What am I going to want to wear?
But isn't it interesting that all gangs have colors and all gangs have a certain dress code and a certain atmosphere and a certain appearance that identifies them? Wouldn't it be better to identify the person as opposed to what they're wearing? Everybody has an identity, but the way people dress, and the other thing about a dress standard is it eliminates the issue of the haves and the have-nots. And a lot of people, particularly youngsters, are looking for their own identity. Why don't we let them have their own identity as human beings as opposed to what they wear or what they cannot afford to wear?
Okay, this discussion is going to continue here on Town Hall. When we come back, we're going to talk about a number of different issues. Are students, though, spending too much time thinking about what they're going to wear and not enough time thinking about what they're learning? That's one of the issues. Stay with us on the Sunday night. We'll be right back.
You know, people always ask, how can I tell if I'm a redneck? Well, if you go to the family reunion to meet women, you might be a redneck. If the UFO hotline limits you to 1 call per day, you might be a redneck. If you've ever been accused of lying through your tooth, you might be a redneck. Or if your dad walks you to school because you're in the same grade, you might be a redneck.
The Jeff Foxworthy Show premieres this fall on ABC.
Meet your Carrie. He's the best friend a woman could have. A living doll.
Enough about me. Let's talk about your problems. Problems. Let's go shopping. Enough about it. I want to see Bridges in Madison County 2 times and cry a lot.
The Drew Carey Show this fall on ABC.
Happy. Let's just make some flavored coffee, cross our legs, and chat.
I love him.
Hey, George, it's about time you painted that barn of yours.
What's a tightwad like that doing with Miller paint?
Trying to show off he knows the value.
Nah, he's just plain lazy.
Doesn't ever want to paint it again.
Isn't that the same brush you used 20 years ago, the last time he painted it?
Oh, let's go. He won't even fight back.
He hasn't got it in him.
How do they make their paint so affordable?
Because it's made local, you senile old goat. Don't you know anything?
I know that.
The heat is on. It's the Mercury Summer Sales Drive. Now get the comfort and safety of Mercury Sable with $2,000 cash back from Lincoln Mercury. Or choose low 5.9 financing for up to 4 years. Either way, you save big on Sable. Why not go home in the one and only Mercury Villager, the minivan that drives like a car? Right now, you can get one with $1,000 cash back and an additional $500 for current Mercury owners. Get one while the deals are high. See your local Lincoln Mercury dealer today.
This week, Microsoft's Bill Gates on the debut of Windows 95.
Plus, William Safire, Anna Quinlan, and Forrest Gump author Winston Groom on Good Morning America.
This week here on ABC.
I think fashion really matters, though, because I remember last year, or the freshman year, I didn't dress that, all that, and then people didn't treat me right. Now that I got, like, you know, guests and stuff like that, and, like, bags and, you know, gold chains, they treat me better. And I mean, I could study better then.
They're treating her better now that she's wearing the Guess jeans. We're talking about stricter dress codes in school, possibly uniforms in public schools on Town Hall tonight. If kids all look the same, maybe they'd worry less about how they looked and more on their studies. That's an issue we're debating. And let's go back now to Judy, who's a principal at a school where they do wear uniforms.
We do wear uniforms. Interestingly enough, hearing her discuss wearing designer jeans or whatever is of interest to us because a lot of children who come from public school into the Catholic school system, the first thing they're worried about is not the academics, it's wearing the uniform. They're really upset about having to do that. After they've been there for a while, they're really say there is a sense of relief about it. There isn't that peer pressure to have the right label, those kinds of things. So parents certainly like it better, and the kids eventually do too.
Let's jump to our Town Hall hot seat. I want to introduce to you Doug Kuttner, who's a clinical psychologist, deals a lot with children. Doug, do we put too much emphasis on clothes? Do people judge us by the way we look?
Well, it's very clear from everyone's reactions and how hot a topic this is that visual images and how people look are extremely important. What I'm very concerned about is they have a major impact on, I think, the way people feel about you. One of my favorite examples is when I, only once since graduation from high school, did I shave my beard. I always leave my mustache, but I shaved my beard. No one knew what I had done except men who had had beards. Now, everyone knew that something had changed. No one could figure out what it was. One of the things that's important about that is that the way you look absolutely has an emotional impact on everyone around you. So it is so powerful that I actually help children and teenagers with image changes. And let's say a child who has a reputation problem and is concerned about going back to school, and last year I got picked on and made fun of, and during the summer I want to change my behavior and I want to act better and I want to get along better. I will actually work with them to change the way they look somehow so they literally look different when they go back to school, which I think helps them control their own self-confidence, their behavior, and how people will respond to them. So there's no doubt that the way one looks has a big impact on the way people respond.
Yes, you right there.
Yes, I am a product of parochial school up until the middle of 10th grade, and I was absolutely thrilled to go to public school because, after all, I got to wear whatever I wanted to wear. Not hardly as far as my mother went. However, I noticed that my academic focus subsided quite a bit because there was an issue of dress fitting in, image, all sorts of things. I think with the uniform, there's less distraction and there's more ability to focus on academics and actual things that are important.
Let's go back to our hot seat right here.
What I can't believe is some of the hypocrisy that I'm hearing here. Now, with those of you in the private schools, I applaud you. You've chosen to go to a different school system, and you're in a school system that you like, that has uniforms. But when we hear public school administrators talk, what do we hear all the time? Diversity, tolerance. Now they want you to be a uniform. This is a nation of individuals. And if you put on a uniform, you're saying you have to subordinate your individualism to a collective norm. And if you violate from that norm, like don't wear your uniform, you're going to be bludgeoned one way or the other until you conform.
Oh, you know, someone that's sitting in a uniform right next to you, and he doesn't go to school, but he goes, Officer Barnhart from the Multnomah County Sheriff's Department, you deal a lot with kids in school. What do you think about this whole issue of uniforms or stricter dress codes in school?
Well, we have resource officers in high schools, Sam Barlow and Reynolds, and they have a strict code. It's enforced. It's backed up by the administration. However, I think our officers do a good job of networking with the kids, learning what their needs are, trying to educate them. And I'd like to also point out that I wonder what these kids wear. I'm Catholic, and I went to a Catholic school. I want to know what they wear when they get out of school. The discipline doesn't stop at school. It keeps going, and we need to look at the whole system, not just at school. And I don't think a uniform, while they're nice, like CW says, they're not going to solve the problem at the school.
You young person here.
Yeah, I think the problem stems is that we're taking all these issues. We're saying kids don't have discipline, kids judge each other by the way they look, kids don't study enough. And we're taking all these different problems, and I'm agreeing they're problems. But I think the problem is that we're trying to pin up dress codes and hope to catch all these with them. If you want to change the public schools and make them better, if you want kids to have discipline, study harder, not judge each other by the way they look. You don't just suppress individuality. There's other things that are much more important. And I think the problem comes is that you don't teach them that. You just kind of shelter them from the real world. And then when you get into the real world, you don't know how to deal with individuals.
But I think we heard Doug just tell us the reality is people do judge us kind of by the way we look, right, Doug?
Yes, it has a tremendous impact.
That needs to change.
But one of the reasons we're so focused on it is when dress becomes representative of people's behaviors and attitudes. And we're stuck between two things, the image and its impact versus public policy and the way you control that image, or whether in fact you can control the image at all, which is some of what I want to hear about.
Jeff, one thing I want to make clear, I don't want to suggest that uniforms are the solution to all of our problems. If you said that, it's just one piece of the puzzle. I want to respond to this hypocrisy accusation. As a public school board member for 9 years, what I've heard over and over again from parents more than anything else is we want our public schools to raise their standards and their performance. We want public schools to be more like private schools. We want the safety, the security. We want that sense that you're there to do a good job and get outcomes. So I don't think you should denigrate public schools to a secondary status, in effect, by saying that we shouldn't act like private schools.
Well, I think public schools, there are a lot of great public schools, including many of the ones in Beaverton. But when they're saying they want public schools to be more like private schools, I think what they're more concerned about is whether or not they can do math, whether they can read, whether they know their geography. I don't think they're so concerned about what they wear. There might be some parents, but they can go to a private school.
I disagree. There's a lot of concern.
Jeff, I'd like to point one thing out. I bet you if you asked these kids
to come up with a standard, they would say some things were out of line. So we're not so far apart that these people say you could do anything. I think if someone showed up wearing something that was sexist or racist or homophobic or hateful, these kids would say that's out of line.
Is there a limit? Is there a limit? I mean, you got the old gene deal going here, but is there a limit? Is there a limit?
I think it depends where you're going and who you're hanging out with. Like if you're going to church, I wouldn't wear something like this, or to a funeral. There's like certain like standards that you're going to have to go with, but that's just your decision.
Is there a limit? I want to hear from some other young people. Is there a limit, do you think?
Yes, I feel there is a limit. If someone is walking around with a T-shirt that says something about a race, or about, you know, just bashing anybody, I would say something to that person. There is a certain limit. If you are discriminating against someone or something like that, there is a limit where you need to go to a higher authority and say, look, we don't need this going on in our school.
Okay, let's go back to Seattle. Dawn, who set the stricter dress code up in Seattle Public Schools. Dawn, I know you've been listening in on the conversation. How do you feel about this?
Well, I think the comments are being made, and I think that young man there that said this is not a cure-all is quite right. It is certainly not a cure-all, but it is a step in a direction to begin to instill a discipline into the society in which our children are learning. And our goal in public education, as that gentleman from Beaverton said, is to create a climate that is learning-oriented and to destroy and to diminish the distractions to that learning environment. And I think the dress standard is one idea. Another idea is the very discipline and the culture of the school itself. There's a variety of things. The quality of the teachers, the quality of the principal, those are all key factors. And the involvement of parents. I mean, we're not going to fix public education unless we bring the parent back into the equation. So there's all kinds of things.
Well, let's go to a parent right here. He's saying, hey, the uniforms aren't the cure-all.
Well, and they probably won't be. Well, I'd like to address the public school versus private school issue. How can you argue with where it's been tried in Whittier down around L.A., in Detroit? It's all worked. Attendance has been up. Test scores.
You're talking it's worked when they've had public schools wear some kind of uniform.
Yes, and how can you argue with that success? I mean, you can say private versus public, but it's been tried and it's been shown that things do improve when this is instituted.
I guess we should point out it's been tried in Baltimore, I guess, Washington, D.C., Long Beach, California.
Whittier Elementary.
It's still a little too early to tell, but the initial reports say, hey, we are tending to have less discipline problems.
I would guess that it's not the uniforms causing the improvement. I applaud the improvement. I would bet that most of the improvement came from a change in culture, a change in philosophy and attitude. I bet every aspect of that school has been changed.
As a result of,
Because of a uniform.
As a result of what?
Yeah, the uniform.
I can't believe that the uniform itself.
I would agree. I would have to agree with you probably. And you always have to be careful about what we would call the third variable problem, which is what caused the change. Now, what you have to keep in mind is in order to change something as big as all the uniforms in the school, the way everyone dresses, you have had to get a lot of cooperation and a great deal of control over a lot of people. It can be a problem, I think, if the students are totally against it. I went to high school. Jeans were not allowed when I went to high school. A friend of mine went to high school with sport jacket, tie, jeans, and sneakers the whole time. They left them alone because I guess it was good-looking jeans.
Well, is it worth maybe giving up a few individual rights if it is going to solve a problem? If it is maybe going to solve a discipline problem at schools, is it worth it? Is it worth it? How do you feel? Another young person?
I just don't think so. I mean, it's back to the individualism. You cannot be an individual if you look like 1,500 people in your school. I mean, you're an individual with what you wear. That's
oh.
How can you not look like if I look like him and her and her and her and her, how am I different? But
you don't look like
the way
him or her.
I act
You look beyond the clothes to the
how I
person
dress,
inside.
Though.
You look beyond the clothes. You've got a uniform, so you're looking right at the person first off instead of their clothes.
But what about their hair and what about their earrings? Or, you know, how far are you going to take it? Are you going to say, well, you can't wear glasses or this is that? I mean, a uniform isn't going to solve. Kids like to make fun of kids. It's been there since the age of time. You know, and you have to be who you're going to be for the rest of your life. In the real world, if you don't start now, you're not going to be hurt. Your feelings aren't going to be unhurt. It's going to happen. You need to start waking up.
I think it's a difference between grade school and high school. I mean, when you get into high school, you're totally different. You're a totally different person. When you're in grade school, you need. I mean, it's fine. But when you get in high school, pride. I mean, pride's a different thing. I mean.
Okay, I want to go to a younger guy right here. What they're saying here tonight, let me get up there with you. What they're saying here tonight is maybe for the younger kids, it's okay, uniforms. I hear some people saying, but when you get to high school, maybe you make your own decisions. How do you feel about it?
Well, I've been to grades,
Grade school where you had to wear a uniform?
No, I've been to grade school where you can wear like mostly anything you want. And if you wear a uniform, what are they going to do? You're going to just change it. And if you're going to put a kid in uniform, what is it going to do? Is it going to change their personality? Is it going to make them be a better student?
You're just saying it's an external thing that really doesn't change what's inside.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? Okay, we heard that comment right there. Let's hear from another young person right there, because she's had her hand up most of town hall.
Well, like what she said, it's not, well, you can wear uniforms, and you don't have to tease other person. We're from a Catholic school, and we don't allow that, so we don't usually tease other people.
Right, so you're saying maybe the uniform helps people be nice to each other. Maybe there's a little bit of what we call discipline in the thing. So she's saying it works at her school. Yeah, you've had your hand up as well.
Well, yes, I've worn a school uniform for 12 years at St. Mary of the Valley, and I'm on St. Mary's grade school board. I think a uniform is a great equalizer, and I think that's what we're hearing on both sides here. People saying, see the individual. That's a wonderful, wonderful thought. See the individual. A uniform equalizes. It helps you see the individual and not whether they have the right dress, the right pants, if their pants are down low enough or up high enough.
Or they can afford it.
Exactly.
Okay, we've got to take a break here on Town Hall. We're going to pick up that thought. Put your thinking caps on. Because when we come back, whether you're for uniforms or against uniforms, you are going to be amazed at how much parents save by going to the uniform system. A uniform company here in Portland that supplies uniforms to schools across the country. The representative is here. We're going to show you some of these uniforms and how much they cost. We'll be right back.
Karate and mutton. Cindy.
What are chops?
Yes, make a selection.
I'll take motion for 800, Alex.
In dance, the act of swiveling one's hips like a top. Steve.
What is to gyrate?
Good. Make another selection.
Let's try royalty for 600.
A greeting chanted by well-wishers at his coronation. Tom.
What is Long Live the King?
Right. It's your turn to select.
How about rock and roll for 400, Alex?
Weeknights at 7 on KATU Spirit 2.
It called to him. With all the richness of Colombia, it called. Folgers new Colombian Supreme. Dark and rich and wildly Colombian. A Colombian like no other. It was darker than the leading Colombian brand. Dark, yet not bitter. It made them happy. It made their morning. And then, it made them want more. Folgers new Colombian Supreme. It will call you.
Hot, low prices lead to big summer savings this week at Safeway. You'll find fresh ground beef just 79 cents a pound in the approximate 5-pound roll. Boneless beef top sirloin steaks, only $1.99 a pound in the value pack. And take home sweet Northwest corn on the cob, 10 for just $1. Plus, the 1-pound package of Shady Lane butter is only 69 cents. For big summer savings, don't miss the super low prices this week at Safeway.
We're here to make a comparison between the #1 selling compact truck and the competition. Well, for one thing, the Ford Ranger comes with a driver's side airbag. The competition? The Ranger comes with ABS brakes as standard equipment. Then, and the Ford Ranger's available 4.0-liter engine. So see your local Northwest Ford dealer today and see how the Ford Ranger is blowing away the competition.
Reach out to a girl. Help girls grow up strong, smart, and bold. Call Girls Incorporated.
There's a student starting her day by putting on her uniform. Welcome back to Town Hall, everybody. I want you to meet Dee Dee. You go to St. Stephen's School, and you wear a uniform every morning. You have to get into your uniform. How do you like wearing a uniform? Do you wish you could wear regular clothes, or do you like a uniform?
I like to wear uniforms sometimes, but free dress is fun too, but uniform is a lot easier. So when you get up in the morning, you have your clothes already, and you can just get up and get dressed without having to worry about what you're going to wear to school.
And every once in a while, you do have a free dress day, don't you?
Yeah.
And then you kind of get excited about that, don't you?
Sometimes.
Yeah. And the gentleman right here, your name?
Nicholas.
And Nicholas, you go to St. Stephen as well. Now, are you wearing a uniform for a hot weather day at St. Stephen's? Is this what you would wear to school?
Yeah.
Okay, so you got a red T-shirt on and what, blue pants? Do you like wearing a uniform?
Yeah.
Why?
Because it's comfortable and
You just don't have to worry about it in the morning, do you?
Yeah.
And Kimmy, I know you like wearing a uniform, don't you?
Yeah, I do. And it also gives you a lot of self-respect. And in the morning, you wake up, you put it on, and you go to school, and you can study, and you can do all your work really well, and you don't have to be distracted or looking at other people's clothes or saying, oh, I want that, or things like that.
And I know something else. You can wad these things up and throw them in a backpack, and they still come out without any wrinkles. The man responsible for a lot of these uniforms, tell him your name.
My name is Doug Donica.
And Doug's from a Dennis Uniform Company. And folks may not know this, but here in Portland, it's a company that supplies uniforms to schools all over the country, don't they?
Yes, we have 25 retail outlets.
Okay, you brought some examples here of just some of the, let's go through these quickly, but here's a look at some. You have what, a sweater here and
This is elementary kids.
Okay.
That's an elementary uniform. I'd like to point out that the uniforms vary substantially. The school really selects the uniforms. We have some schools that a blazer, a tie, a white shirt, slacks, or a uniform.
Well, here's a golf shirt type of thing.
That's a knit shirt.
Okay.
It's a uniform that goes with shorts. These are for mid-school kids.
Okay.
High school. This is just a plaid skirt.
Okay, there's a short shirt. That's a plaid skirt right there.
This is a sweatshirt and a knit polo shirt that is worn by schools in California.
Okay. And now let me ask you something. Suppose my kids go into a school where they require a uniform. What's the average I'm going to pay for a school year? I might need 2 skirts or I might need 2 pairs of pants, but what's the average that a parent's going to spend?
$200.
For the whole school year?
Yes. That'd be for 4 or 5 shirts, a couple pairs of shorts, or maybe a jumper or a skirt and a blouse. But yes, a student probably for $200.
Okay, this lady here has 2 children in school. Do you remember what you spent this school year?
I spent $125 on Alex and less on Missy because she's wearing the same skirt that she wore last year. It was a little bigger. I moved the button over, and she's in it again.
Okay, so it is definitely a money saving.
Definitely, and also you have such a camaraderie in the school that the older children will hand down the uniforms to the younger ones. There's a closet that you can go to and get uniforms. Nobody knows you're wearing hand-me-downs. You don't have to worry about it.
Okay, one quick one. How much did you spend this year on clothes?
Actually, for our daughter Elizabeth, we were like you, only spent just a couple of dollars on socks, and we had to buy a couple new shirts. Otherwise, we can convert her uniforms from last year to this year.
Oh, so very lucky. Hey, has this changed anybody's mind here on the other side? At all? At all? But from an economic standpoint, has it changed your mind at all?
No.
If you were a parent, though, I'm just playing devil's advocate. If you were a parent...
We work for our clothes. I mean, I'm wearing shoes that I pay for. I mean, I will go to places like her store and find reasonable clothes.
Her store?
Which, and these 2 people, they're...
Okay, and you own what kind of store?
I own the Big Bang, and the main part of it is mostly new retail. But we have a warehouse, a vintage warehouse, and young people can shop there. They can buy a dress from $6 to $10.
And these were supplied by your store, right?
Yes, and this is a new garment. This is a vintage, used 501s.
So you're saying, yes...
They can just dress cheaper.
I see.
If they want.
You're saying there's still ways to save money.
Yes.
Even by dressing.
Yeah, but these people are going to have to pay for uniforms, plus they're going to have to pay for clothes for their kids on the off time.
You're saying you can wear at a public school, if you're not wearing a uniform, you can still wear these clothes when you want to go do something after school. How do you feel about that?
Well, I guess once they've paid their private school tuition, they need to save money.
Oh, well, now, that's a very valid point, though. She's saying, that's a valid point, though. She's saying, you've got an added expense, you're also paying the tuition.
That's right, we are. But I think it's offset by the clothes a lot.
Yeah.
And you kind of invest for what you believe is important during your early years and spend your money on the rest. And we, at this point in time, think it's important Liz goes to St. Mary's.
Okay, I got to take a break here. Now, uniforms do sound appealing, especially when it comes to the money issue. But is it just a simplistic solution to a much more complicated problem? We touched on that a little earlier, and we're going to get back to that when Town Hall continues. Stay with us.
Watch Monday night after football on KATU Spirit 2.
Oh, she's got to notice me when she comes by. I mean, look at me. What's not to notice? I'm here. I tell you, if you want to feel good, you got to look good. And if I'm going to run good, I got to feel good. Look at me. I'm designed for a high-octane gas. I love it. That's what I need, this Chevron Supreme with Tech Run. I mean, it makes me run like a champ. It's all good stuff. I mean, it's mind-boggling.
No premium outperforms new Chevron Supreme with Tech Run. Chevron, simply smarter.
I mean, I don't mean to brag or anything, but I feel stupendous.
Southwest Airlines is having a sale.
I don't understand it. Southwest already has the lowest fares, and now you're having a sale?
Yep. Now you can fly to Oakland, San Jose, or Sacramento for $49, or to San Diego or the LA area for only $89.
I mean, it's a great deal, but I kind of feel like I'm taking advantage of them.
Just purchase your tickets 7 days in advance and by September 7th. Travel through January 9th.
I mean, Southwest having a sale? Isn't that redundant?
Fly Southwest, the low-fare airline. The low-fare airline.
It's a trip to paradise, and this man has lost his vacation money. And so has he. This man was carrying cash. But he insisted on American Express traveler's checks. So while he had nobody to turn to, this man called the people at American Express as he tried to contact someone back home. With just one phone call, American Express can refund your lost or stolen traveler's checks just about any time, any place. American Express traveler's checks, always safer than cash.
Of the 10 most fuel-efficient car models tested by the EPA, 5 were Honda Civics. You delayed. IntelliChoice recognized 6 Civic models as having the best overall values in their respective classes. You deliberated. Then came the Honda 95 clearance lease for just $149 a month for 24 months. How shrewd of you. Timing is everything at your Honda dealer.
Yes, this is the latest fashion look coming to a school near you. The right, is that the right leg? You hike that up? The in leg right there? What do you think? Should that be the look on Town Hall? Should that be the look on Town Hall next season? We're talking about, yeah, there you go. That's the look on Town Hall for next season. We're talking about uniforms, or stricter dress codes in schools. Will that really solve the problem? Is that just a simplistic answer? It's an answer maybe, or a possible piece to the solution, but is it really the ultimate answer? And let's get some young people in the conversation.
No.
No. No. No, a straight no.
Okay, I have a question. Why is it that the girls are wearing skirts, and just skirts or dresses, and the guys wear shorts or pants?
Well, I'm not sure if that's important as the issue of, are uniforms going to solve the problems that you see maybe at your school, or a stricter dress code maybe in high school?
I don't know, but...
Really, you don't know? Would it solve the problem, do you think?
No.
It wouldn't. How about you?
No, I don't think so, because if you did it now, people are so used to wearing what they want, they're going to complain the whole time, and they're not going to think about what they should be thinking about.
No, it's a lot of what I'm hearing people say is that it's a discipline. It will help with discipline. A lot of what I see with discipline starts when the child is young. If the discipline isn't there, it's not going to be there when they're older. I don't think so.
Well, let's go back to some of our police officers. CW, what would you say to that? You heard some of the young people here.
Well, first I want to maybe buy an outfit for my daughter before you go, but but I think the thing is, if we can show that people are being hurt, like I said, by slogans or things on clothes, or we can show that clothing is associated with gangs and people are being injured by that, then absolutely I think we need to get rid of that kind of stuff in the schools.
Let's go to our hot seat.
I have something to say about that. It's like if you made everyone wear a uniform and they were a member of a gang, they'd come up with something. They'd do it, some kind of a hand gesture or a button or a sticker on a notebook. There would be some way to do it. And what you're doing is essentially painting over dry rot. If there are problems in our society that get brought to school, the answer is not put a nice clean white shirt on them. The answer is to solve the problem.
Our psychologist.
Well, look at the uniforms here. I mean, I'm glad I didn't wear a jacket at least. What if I do this? It's just going to confuse everybody. I got to put this on at least once. What does this mean? Everybody, who is this guy? I mean, I'm not Dwight Yoakam, you know? So images are extremely powerful. And what this is telling us is we have to use them correctly. We have to admit that what you see visually has a tremendous impact. You have to react. Just, I agree with the officers. You have to react to images that we now know have certain meanings. That's the best we could do, I think.
Uniforms. Joe, we want to pick up on that again? Should we have them maybe in public schools if they're going to help discipline?
Well, again,
Go ahead, go ahead.
Okay. Again, you know, it's been proven already. They tried it last year in school districts back east. They've tried it in Whittier Elementary last year down by LA, and it's worked. Again, attendance is up. Discipline is up. They know who belongs to that school and who doesn't. And you can only show the proof there.
The school administrator behind you.
Well, I was just going to say exactly the same thing that you said. The results are starting to come in that it does have an impact. So I don't know how we can sit here and argue over at least that it does. I don't think it cures all, but it helps.
Okay, saying it's done cure. So what's the harm? What's the harm, young people? What's the harm?
Just one thing I'd like to see is, like, I want to know what the older teenagers are thinking about the uniforms on the pro uniform. The oldest I've heard so far is 6th grade. I want to see the 7th, 8th, 9th.
It comes back to that issue. It might be okay for little kids, but when you get into young adulthood, when you can drive a car and stuff, you maybe don't want someone telling you what to wear? Is that what you're saying?
I want to know what they think. I don't see anybody over there. The oldest I see is 6th grade. I mean.
Can we answer that?
I think there's like what the officer said over here. We have like our prisoners in uniforms, and they're still beating each other up. I mean, they're still fighting. I mean, doesn't do anything for discipline.
Well, let's go back to Don in Seattle. Don, I know you've been following the conversation. I'm interested in your comments. Go ahead.
Well, like I said earlier, it won't solve the problem, but it is the start of inculcating culture into a learning system that will improve the learning system. The data is so substantially positive that it impacts learning that, I mean, you just cannot argue against it. It works, but it's not the only solution, and it's not why kids start to learn intuitively just because of uniforms, but it's part of the process of increasing a learning environment.
Okay, Don's saying it's part of the solution. Go ahead.
I'm Holly Patterson, and I'm a parent at St. Mary's. And I used to work in the fashion industry, and I'd like to say you're all individuals, but you're not, because in the fashion industry, we make money by telling you what is in fashion, and you buy it. You think you're individuals, but you're not. And so you pick and choose. It's a trend, and everybody's in uniform. The only way anybody is going to be an individual in this room, and we're all in uniform because we're all dressed, is if we're all naked.
Okay, here's someone else in the fashion industry.
Well, first of all, I want to know if creativity is up. In answer to previous.
You mean in the schools where uniforms or stricter dress code is working?
Yes, but no, I take my ideas from young people. I love young people. Young people are the start of fashion. All designers take their ideas from young people.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, in the back.
Well, I would frankly have to be somewhat insulted by the comment, because I really don't feel that I'm trendy. I would think that as an insult. I don't think trendy is good. And I really don't think I dress trendy. I dress how I like to dress. It's comfortable. I like to dress this way. And I think by dealing with these, we're missing the real problem, and I really think it is not a solution. And whatever it does solve, I think is outweighed by the loss of individual rights anyway.
I was just going to ask you that. Maybe so he's saying, hey, even if it does solve something, it's not enough because it takes away individual rights.
Individuals are hard to manage. They create problems because they're creative. They think of things teachers and administrators don't think of. But if we're going to take the benefits of individuals, which make this country exciting and competitive, we have to take the problems too. We can't have our cake and eat it too.
Gary, if Beaverton passes something, where it's going to be stricter, maybe dress code regulations or enforcing the dress code regulations or uniform, you're taking away my individual rights if I'm a student.
You know, see, I don't buy that. I liked a lot of what Doug said earlier. One thing I learned when I proposed uniforms a few years ago, even though the circumstances, and I think, are a lot worse right now in terms of school behavior and so forth, is that something happened in that school at the local level where they did the uniform thing or the dress code that caused them to confront the problems. Now, whether they went to uniforms or dress code, the issue was they got over the denial that was going on in the school. And I think that schools, even though I favor uniforms, I think the best way to do that is to have it come from the grassroots level by joint efforts between teachers, parents, and kids.
Am I hearing you say uniforms or a stricter dress code might be a catalyst for more change?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
I think it's a part of a process.
Well, I think that there's a lot of ways that they're trying to change us, and wearing uniforms is only one of them. They've also tried to lock us in our school, and that doesn't seem to be doing anything in particular. And so, I mean, people are going to be the way they are no matter what you do to them. And yeah, it's our right to be an individual, but it's also our responsibility to make sure that that does not interfere with the education process, because we're not at school to see how short our skirt can be or how much our rear end can sag out of our pants. It's to get an education, and that's what we're there for.
Okay, Doug.
Ooh, I don't know if I can top
Absolutely. I think that's something everyone here on Town Hall can agree with.
We are responding to images that have meaning. We are all wearing uniforms. What we perhaps should be talking about is positive image. Schools need positive images. That does not equal uniforms. We are responding to negative and positive images. There are some negative images that are clear, and there are positive images that many of us can deal with or understand or agree to.
Okay, we want our viewers at home opportunity for them to respond to this whole issue. What can you do about your thoughts on school uniforms? We're going to tell you how to make your voice heard when we come back. Stay with us on Town Hall.
It's the Mercury Summer Sales Drive. Now get a Mercury Mystique with low 2.9 financing for up to 48 months or $750 cash back. Mystique has an interior air filtration system that helps keep dust and pollen out of the passenger compartment. And an available V6 Duratec engine that goes 100,000 miles between scheduled tune-ups. The all-new Mercury Mystique with 2.9 financing or $750 cash back. Get one while the deals are hot. See your local Lincoln Mercury dealer today.
I'm Bill Rawson from William Lloyd Corporation. As a builder in the Street of Dreams at Canyon Creek, we're proudly supporting the Northwest Housing Alternatives.
Street of Dreams builders are lending special support to nonprofit organizations.
I'm Rick Bernard of Bernard Custom Construction. As a Street of Dreams builder, we're helping to support the YWCA Transitional School.
10 agencies are receiving special benefit from the 95 Street of Dreams. Show your support and visit the Street of Dreams at Canyon Creek.
Your local Northwest Ford dealer is proud to present the Taurus Adventure, starring America's #1 car, the Ford Taurus. This major attraction features a colossal $2,000 cash back from Ford. Get a new Taurus with V6 engine, dual airbags, air conditioning, and more. And get $2,000 cash back from Ford. See America's best-selling car today and get $2,000 cash back. Only at your local Northwest Ford dealer.
Have you noticed that some sports cars don't get the best mileage? Presenting the new Nissan 200 SX, a sports car designed to perform as well at the pump as it does away from the pump. The new Nissan 200 SX, the sports car for today's world.
Tonight,
Why would a single professional man want to adopt a child?
when David Norwell adopted a Native American boy,
Hi, Daddy.
he knew it would be hard.
Daddy love Adam?
Yes. He just didn't know how hard.
Adam's mother was an alcoholic from the time she was 13. Adam is mentally impaired permanently. Don't buy it.
NYPD Blues' Jimmy Smits in a moving story, The Broken Chord.
Tonight on KATU Channel 2.
Announcing Arby's new 99-cent Southwestern deal. If you want to take a bigger bite out of life, if you demand more bang for your buck, you're going to love Arby's new 99-cent Southwest Melt. Slow roasted beef topped with Arby's wild Southwestern sauce and tangy melted cheddar. All for under $1. So hop on your trusty steed and head on into Arby's. One bite of Arby's new 99-cent Southwest milk, and you'll taste why it's better here.
Welcome back to Town Hall. We're talking about what young people are wearing in the classroom. Should we have stricter dress codes? Should we have uniforms in some public schools? We want to check back in with Don Nielsen in Seattle, the Seattle School Board member who was instrumental in getting strict dress code regulations passed up in Seattle. Don, what's the next step in Seattle? What's happening with the schools up there?
Well, it's varied. The proposal we put forth was a recommendation and an encouragement and a support by the school board to the schools, but we left it up to the schools, and some of the principals are now working with their staff and their site councils to determine what they're going to do, and I think that's the appropriate methodology. Some schools need much more structure than others, and I think that's what we're going to see.
Okay, Don Nielsen, we want to thank you for joining us on Town Hall tonight from Seattle. What do you think about the idea of requiring uniforms in schools? We'd like to hear from you, and here's the address you can write to us, Town Hall, P.O. Box 2, Portland, Oregon, 97207. I want to get some closing thoughts now from our hot seat guests, and I'm going to start with you.
Okay.
Why not uniforms or stricter dress codes?
Because if you want to wear a uniform or you want that environment, you can voluntarily go to a private school. You're forced to go to public schools. We should be worrying about diversity, pluralism, tolerance. We learn things with that too. It doesn't solve our social problems, and I'm all for academic achievement, and in Beaverton we have that. But uniforms aren't the answer. Higher standards are.
Okay, Beaverton, a school board member who's for uniforms.
Yeah, our public schools are under tremendous pressure to produce students that are ready to enter the work world. I think uniforms are an important part of an overall improvement in the public school system. It forces public schools to take a real hard look at themselves. And I like the Seattle approach personally, where the board created the stimulus, the motivation, and let the decisions be made at the local level.
Doug, we got about a minute left right here. You've been sitting there as a psychologist. You listen to people all the time and observe. I'm interested in your observations tonight and what you heard.
A school is a community, and schools aren't enough of a community. If a uniform, in quotes, were to work in some way, in my mind, it's because a school helps create a positive image that people feel part of it. How many of us would walk around with an entirely red outfit on in Oregon anymore because of the Rajneeshis? Red has an image because of what it was given. Otherwise, other states, they wouldn't even know what you're talking about. So these images have meaning because of what has occurred and what we have learned, and that is what we have to understand. They're very powerful. We have to understand where they came from and maybe how to control them. But the school has to accept it as a community. It can't be just applied or forced on the school.
Okay, that is our program for tonight. I want to thank everybody, especially the young people, and especially you. Your arm must be getting awful tired holding that up right there. And our kids, especially from Grant High. Yeah! Thanks to everybody who is out here. This is what you'll see next week on Town Hall. Take a look.
From extremist talk radio to outrageous talk topics, Sally Jesse Raphael discusses the contributions and controversies around talk shows next week.
Hope you enjoyed Town Hall tonight. Change your mind after anything you heard? No. No? No? How about you?
Nope.
And how about you?
Nope, I haven't.
Okay. Once again, thanks to everybody who took the time to watch the Town Hall. If you want to be on Town Hall next week and be here in our audience, you can wear anything you want within limits. Here's the phone number to call and talk to our Town Hall producers, 231-4620. That's 231-4620. That's the number to call to be part of our Town Hall. I guess, summing this whole thing up, I guess we can all agree on something here on Town Hall, that we want school to be safe for our kids. We want our kids to learn. But I guess what we can't agree on when it comes to this idea of uniforms or stricter dress codes, is that the way to go? Nobody seems to really come up with any consensus tonight. I think this is a good Town Hall for teachers and students to discuss tomorrow, Monday morning in the classroom if you have time. I'm Jeff Gianola. See you on the news tomorrow, everybody. Take care.